Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order, the Policy and Audit Committee for Harlingen CISD, please. And I would like to move to the first agenda item, Dr. Noyola.
Yes, ma'am. Debbie Scoggin will be presenting our first agenda item. Mrs. Scoggin.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Fourier, committee
Good afternoon.
chair, and members of the senior team and audience and other board members who may be present. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So today we are bringing forward 5 recommended revisions to Policy Update 116. Update 116 includes recommended local policy revisions, including the dismissal appeal process for employees, cybersecurity training, student medical treatment, and community conduct on school premises. Mrs. Corton will present the first policy revision.
Mrs. Fourier, Dr. Viola, board members, and audience. So the first policy that I'll present this afternoon is CQB Local, Technology Resources regarding cybersecurity. To ease compliance with state law provisions requiring the board to select a cybersecurity training program and verify and report cybersecurity training by district employees, recommended revisions to this policy provide for the board to delegate these responsibilities to the superintendent.
Thank you, Mrs. Corton. And I will present the next 2 policy revisions. Policy DCD Local is a replacement for employment practices and at-will employment. The recommended revisions clarify that an at-will employee's appeal of dismissal would follow the district's employee grievance policy and not begin with the board. Additionally, the provision on reasonable assurance is already addressed at CRF Local and is recommended for deletion from this policy. Policy DCE Local is also recommended for replacement, employment practices, and other types of contracts. Recommended revisions clarify that an appeal by an employee whose non-Chapter 21 contract is not reissued at the end of the contract period would follow the district's employee grievance policy and not begin with the board. The provision on reasonable assurance is already addressed at CRF Local and is recommended for deletion from this policy. Dr. Noyola will present the next policy revision.
Thank you, Mrs. Scoggin. And so, Mrs. Fleury, a number of those policies that were mentioned earlier had very minor revisions that didn't really detract. What you're going to find with policy FFAC on wellness and health services and medical treatment, this policy did have significant adjustments made to it, however, none that conflicted with our current practices. And so as TASB was reviewing policy FFAC, which deals with health services, they received a lot of guidance from the Texas Department of State Health Services. And so a lot of the changes that you will see in this policy reflect that guidance that was given by the Department of State Health Services, but they were actually things that we were already doing in the district. In keeping with the direction that TASB is moving, and that they're moving a lot of policy more so into administrative guidelines than necessarily sitting in a policy book. The same thing has happened with this policy. A number of these provisions are really more appropriate within administrative guidelines versus necessarily sitting within a policy handbook. Recommended for removal for this policy and moving it more into administrative guidelines is what the district does when they respond to a student who becomes ill. So rather than putting that in policy, they've simply said, just make it part of your operational guidelines and not necessarily sitting in your policy handbook. In addition to that, they remove the steps that are taken when a student is involved in an accident. It does not change what we do, it's just simply sitting elsewhere. And then requirements for administering a medication for provided by parents. Again, we will still continue the same practices, they'll just be located in a different location. Some districts have policies that permit the district to purchase non-prescription medication for use in the district's athletic programs. Special provisions are included in district policies to address this practice. In HCISD, we do not administer any medications. So for example, there are some districts that purchase medications like Tylenol, simple over-the-counter medications should the need arise. We as a district do not do that practice. Medications are only provided by parents or through doctor's orders. So that aspect is also, has also been a recommendation from the Department of State Health Services, so we have always been in compliance with that. And then physicians covering medical treatment the provisions covering medical treatment have also been updated to clarify who may complete the medical treatment authorization form and to reflect that the district will seek appropriate emergency care for a student as required or deemed necessary. Again, practices that we currently employ in the district, so really not significant changes to our practices. It's just aligning our policy to those recommendations from the Department of State Health Services.
Let me ask a question, please.
Yes, ma'am.
I think, as always, when I meet with my wonderful staff there, I learn some things. I was not aware, for example, that in athletics we don't administer Tylenol or anything like that. But I'm assuming that being the case, that parents are informed of that so that they know it's really important to get help quickly if the students need it.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Yes, and we have a number of parents that because their children have different conditions and so forth, that they themselves will bring that forward and provide it. But the Department of State Health Services really recommended that that need more of a parent-led provision than necessarily a district-led.
And if the parents are not available and the children are not feeling well, then what happens?
So as I mentioned, the provision that covers medical treatment has been updated to clarify that parents may, it's part of our authorization forms that we do at the very beginning of the year. So at the very beginning, parents complete these forms that speak to that type of authorization in the case of an emergency.
They authorize us to do whatever is necessary.
And really law authorizes us to take emergency action when the need arises. And that's always been as part of the local parentis provision that says that if there is an emergency and parents are not available, that the districts can act as, quote, the parent in lieu of the actual parent being available.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Dr. Miola. Dr. Joseph Yadra will present the next policy revision.
Good evening, Mrs. Fleury, Dr. Nola. Bringing forth a minor recommended revision to policy GKA local entitled Community Relations Conduct on School Premises. The recommended revision in this policy specifies that a person filing a complaint regarding refusal of entry to or ejection from a property based on Education Code 37.105 shall be permitted to address the board within 90 calendar days unless the complaint is resolved before coming to the board. So the only change is the addition of the word calendar to further specify the timeline. Prior policy did not have the word calendar, it just read 90 days. So the recommended revision, once again, is the addition of the word calendar. Thank you.
Thank you. Got it.
Thank you, Dr. Villalon. This concludes our recommendations for policy revisions for today. Should anyone have any questions, we're happy to try our best to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 2, please.
So agenda item 2 is the discussion of the internal audit quarterly report by Ms. Nelly Ledesma.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mrs. Fleury and Dr. Reininger,
Good afternoon.
members of the board, and Dr. Nayola, Dr. Cavazos, and senior team members. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm not sure if y'all have this on the, okay, where did it go? Hold on. There it is. I don't know why I can't see it. Screen 2. Can y'all see the reports?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I don't see it, but I guess I've seen it. Okay.
I do. Thank you.
Okay. So on your screen, you will see that in this internal audit quarterly report, I will be presenting 9 audit reports.
And so the first one that I know you've had time to go over them, but I will still, I'm just going to recap some main points on each of the reports, but please let me know if you have any questions at any time. The first report that I'd like to go over is the year-end physical inventories. And these reports were done in the fall primarily, but since we have not reported to you all, that is why these reports are just getting reported. So the year-end physical inventories, we are happy to report that the district has very good processes, internal controls, and oversight at the areas we visited, which were the maintenance department, central receiving warehouse, district operations, custodial shop, the transportation department, and the child nutrition department. And these inventories were observed as of June 30th, 2020. Going down through the report, you will see the various selections that we did at the various areas. Like the child nutrition department, we went and observed 2 middle schools and 1 high school due to COVID restrictions. We did not want to be too exposed out there, and so we just chose 2 middle schools and 1 high school. Sure. At the maintenance department, we did go out and we looked at the grounds, HVAC, life and safety, electrical, electronic, fumigation, and pesticide areas. In addition, we also saw the district's custodial workshop, at the central receiving warehouse, we looked at the air filters, copy color paper, the custodial supplies, and lights. At the transportation department, we looked at fuels, tires, engine belts, lights, bulbs, alternator starters, electrical, brake press parts, and safety parts, seatbelt doors. The procedures that we followed are listed in the report. And then in the report, I am also showing you by area or by department the recap for that department. And so you will see how much inventory each area had. So moving along all the way down, you will see that we had a final recap for all the inventories on page 8. And that shows that overall, the district, as of 6/30/2020, we had over $1 million in inventory on hand. And I am happy to report that there were no findings and that we are very happy with the processes and the internal controls that we have in place. Any questions on our year-end inventories?
Dr. Reiniger, you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but congratulations, both I noted on the improvement and then certainly the findings of this with no findings is really impressive. Right. So congratulations.
All right, I would like to say that as well. Oscar, guess that's pretty much in your area. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Fleury. We have really good directors, and we've been working on this for a couple of years now to improve, and Nellie's made some suggestions, and we're finally where we want to be.
Right, thank you. That is absolutely right. This has been a process that we've been working on, and kudos to all of you who've helped.
I think everything goes back to training, and every time, anytime we do have something that, we see as a concern, all the areas and all the departments are very, eager to just go ahead and correct them. And that's our main goal.
Well, and Nellie, I would just like to add to that we appreciate I think that your attitude and your demeanor and the manner in which you handle all of this is encouraging people to participate just to make things better, as opposed to being seen as too harsh and critical. Got it. Yes, well put. Thank you.
Okay, the next report is a special activity fund audit report that we did for Crockett Elementary, and this was back in September. And this was as a result of Mr. Garcia moving to the Bella Middle School as principal, and also a month later, his secretary retired. So that was, we just combined this report instead of doing two special audits. And so here you will see that as of September the 30th, they had 310 students as per the PEAMS enrollment report, and a balance of $11,973 in their activity fund bank account. As I'm going to just scroll down, there were no findings. There were some minor little things that we just told them that they need to tweak. And I have met, I met with the new campus principal or interim principal, and I will be meeting with her again. And also just making sure that this new secretary doesn't have any problems adhering to some of these procedures. Luckily, we don't have schooling, a lot of kids at school, and there's a lot of fundraisers going on, so this is a good way for her to transition into her new role. And so I'm happy to report that there were no findings, and that the monthly financial reports reviewed were reasonably correct. Any questions on Crockett Elementary? The next report is the annual audit of activity funds, and this is the annual audit for all campuses and departments who maintain activity funds in the district. So this report, you will see some background information. The district has 30 campuses which maintain campus and student activity funds during the year. This was for the year 2019-2020. And we also have 6 non-campus accounts which maintain activity fund transactions. And so there in the report, you will see a little description of what a campus activity fund consists of and what student activity funds consist of. Going down, I just want to note that in the worksheets that follow, you will see that we had more than $1.6 million, of which 83% of these funds are agency or student funds, and 17% belong to the campus funds. So going down to the worksheets, you will see that as of June 30th, the campus activity funds balances are listed there, and they cumulatively total to $1.3 million in student funds, and of course $273,000 in the campus account, and that's just as of June 30th. So it's just a point in time how much money they had. The next worksheet that's listed here, and let me make this a little smaller so you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had it too big. Okay, so here you will see that as of June 30th, for the school year of July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020, these are the receipts and the disbursements cumulatively for these campuses. So the ones that are bolded are the ones the campuses that had the most monies. For the elementary school, it was Means Elementary. And for the middle school, it was Bella Middle School who had the most monies. And of course, for the high schools, it was Harlingen High School. Cumulatively, all campuses, the receipts were over $2.8 million that were collected, which is a lot of money going through these campuses. And of course, we had over $2.5 million in disbursements for the year. So as you can see, it's imperative that we have good internal controls and oversight of these campuses with so much money going in and out. With COVID this year, we don't anticipate as much money going through the campuses. A lot of it is as they're going through My Payment Plus, so it's a cashless transaction. So it'll be interesting to see how we look at how we see our worksheets, how they fare at the end of the year, this coming year. But the next worksheet, you'll see the non-campus activity fund ending balances. And so for the non-campuses, you see aquatic center, chess, fine arts, summer on stage, patron of arts, music department, and special Olympics. And so although they're not very big, but they still have quite a few transactions going through their areas, as you can see in the receipts and disbursements. The fine arts have the most receipts because they do solicit donations as part of what they do. And of course, most of the disbursements, the patron of arts is the one who solicits a lot of donations, and of course, the disbursements are the scholarships that they issue to students. And of course, fine arts, we have a lot of transactions going through there because of all the different plays and the different programs that they offer.
May I ask a question at that point, Nellie? Please. So I was thinking, as you were presenting the earlier page in regard to Means Elementary, and it's rather inordinately, significantly larger amount of money there, and I was assuming that that had to do with the fine arts program, and yet I hear you specifically discussing fine arts in a different category. So what is responsible for that amount being so high?
They also had a fine arts activity fund, a program that they also collect monies for too.
That's reflected in which one is what I'm asking.
In Means Elementary, but then there is also a fine arts.
Yeah, this page, right. This page or on the other page. In other words, I'm trying to find out if this 100,000, this 121,000, 101, I mean, is that related to the fine arts, or is the fine arts reflected in your page that you were talking about?
We have a fine arts activity fund, which I think is that Ms. Corton, you're in charge of that? Trying to remember if is that what you're in charge of?
I do support Lee Means Elementary with the fine arts.
Okay.
And as I look at that account and think about the totals, I think it could be a combination of some of our summer on stage. It could have been some of that. And remember as well that we have had a couple of productions that we have put on through Means Elementary. We had, I believe it was 2 of them, Frozen and Little Mermaid. And so I do believe that that might be in part of the revenues there. That would be my assumption right now.
Yeah, and I don't have the folder with me, but I can get back with you with that information and tell you exactly what that 121 is comprised of.
That would be helpful, I think, just simply because it's very different than the others. But I'm assuming that it is the fine arts, and we know it all is fine. I'm not worried about that at all. I am just curious about. I think it's important for the board to have some concept of the amount of money that we're running through some of these programs. So that's all.
Yes. Okay, and I'll get back with you on that information.
Thank you. Thanks, Veronica.
And Ms. Flourier, may I ask a question here as well? Or do you want
Certainly, please, Dr. Veronica, please.
I just had a question on the, it's the campus activity funds ending balances, that particular spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was looking at the average per student, the final column there, and it's really kind of remarkable, the variation in the average per student. But with the Keys Academy, their average is much higher, and I was just wondering why that might be. I'm sure there's many good reasons for it. It just struck me as so much higher that I wondered.
Most of their balance there is because of their daycare that they have there.
Oh, yeah.
So that it's not really money that belong to them. It's part of that daycare to run the daycare. So, if we were to take that out, that balance would be a lot smaller.
And so are they paying into, we're collecting monies, is that what that's saying for daycare costs? from them?
Yes, from, yeah, I think it's through, I'm not sure the name of the government agency that funds the daycare.
Yeah, that supplement, yeah, daycare
Yes,
costs. Okay.
supplement.
Got it. Okay.
That's correct. And part of it is too, is that we have a lot less students there. There's only 27 students, and certainly that's gonna, increase the average. Typically, we've had more students than that before at Keys, so that's part of the reason that's a little bit higher.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Would that be the same answer, Julio, in regard to Dishman? What's the deal on Dishman?
Well, Dishman got the blue ribbon, they got some monies because of that, so they recommend I haven't spent them.
I hadn't even thought about monies, I just thought about the honor of it, thank you. Sure. How much did they get?
Sure, was it 25,000? How much
It
was it?
sounds about right.
Yeah.
I think it was
That's a good-
25,000.
Yeah, $15,000 or $20,000 around there, so it's a good check.
Okay, they deserve it, great. Thank you.
Okay, so that's basically the spreadsheet that I wanted to cover there, and just to kind of show you how much monies go through activity funds and why it's so important that the business office, of course, has very good controls, and they're constantly talking to the secretaries and the principals about reports and any situations that come up. And so, due to the COVID guidelines, when we did our audits, we had them bring the activity fund books to our office so that we wouldn't have to go. We usually go out from April to June to the campuses to do the audits, and this year we had them bring them over here. And so once the books were here, then we chose samples of 25% of receipts and disbursements to be able to assess the information and make our recommendations and just see how compliant they were. And so, we continue to always just emphasize, that monies need to be deposited daily, and a lot of campuses are doing very, very well. We have a couple that, for some reason or other, they, maybe take a little bit longer. But the business office is always making sure that they are on top of that, and that they will contact the campuses who are struggling and just make sure that they're there for them for support. So my conclusion was that overall, the campuses and the non-campuses that we audited were, the transactions were properly recorded, and the control environment appeared to be adequate for this audit period. Do y'all have any questions on the activity funds?
Questions, Dr. Wyden?
I do have one more question. Thank you, Mrs. Fourier. Can you just quantify what several campuses means? Is that 5 or is that 25?
For the ones who had,
Findings or what, just tweaks?
most of them were pretty good. I would say like maybe 4 or 5 that, we just, either something happened at the campus, they were shorthanded, sometimes we had new secretaries at a campus that might need a little bit more help. So there was just different situations of why they just need a little bit more work. I always say that they need to go back to training just to make sure that they understand the processes and make sure that they, it's busy at a campus. So things are going to happen. There's times when, they can't make a deposit right now, or it has to wait. But, we tell them every Friday you need to make sure those safes are free of monies, And so there's just different situations of why, those 4 or 5 little campuses just need a little bit more, time from the business office.
Thank you, Ms. Ledesma, for all the work on this. I know it's a tremendous undertaking. Thank you.
And so Nellie, would you wrap around, please, a little bit, once you've had those conversations with the campuses that for whatever reason have a momentary lapse? and you make the suggestions to do, then is that through Julio's office or your office? What's the check back to determine if that in fact has been taken care of?
So what we did for each campus, we gave them a summary assessment, and so we outlined each area that we looked at. And then from there, we either told them there was, they were excellent, or they, needed some monitoring or whatever. And so we met with the secretary and principal to make sure that they knew their assessment. And then we also met with Ms. Ida Ambriz from the business office and Mr. Cavazos to make sure that they knew, and they already know too, because they know it before we do. We just see it at the end of the year, but they're seeing it throughout the year. And so we just make sure that they know that, these campuses just need a little bit more monitoring, or if they're, for whatever reason, that they need more assistance, that assistance is provided to them.
So
And then
annotation,
throughout the year, we go back and we've been calling them lately and just calling them just to make sure that some of these areas have, improved.
yeah. And throughout the year, Ms. Fleury, we do go out to the campuses and need the assistance, so Ida and her crew go out there and spend a couple, some time with them to get them through, what they need to get through. And we do have a lot of new turnover, so some of that has to do with that, the training, the ongoing training.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to be sure again that the board is assured that there is a, that it is all tied up in a nice little bow, that everything is done. Thank you.
Okay, so then the next audit 4 through 8, were audits that were conducted to assist the external auditors, and they were relied upon for their external audit, the financial audit that they reported on in December. And so the 4 audits that they used, and in addition to the year-end observations, inventory observations, it's the audit of bid files, which I am also happy to report that there were no findings. And for this audit, the external auditors actually selected the samples, and so we were just assisting in doing the work for them. And so they selected 15 vendors, and the scope of the audit is there, and the procedures that we followed. And so, like I said, there was no findings for the audit of bid files. Then the next one that we also looked at was the audit of state compliance of limited English proficient students records. And so this also was an audit that they also selected the sample, and we just did the work for them. And so there you will have some of the information, for the 1920 PM summer collection. We had 2,700 students, and that's 14.3 of the district's cumulative enrollment that were LEP students. And so the audit objectives were there, and the selection process, and some of the procedures that we followed. And again, I'm happy to report that there were no findings on this audit as well. The next audit that we did, that we assisted them with, was the audit of state compliance of special ed eligibility. And so on this audit, again, they selected 19 students that we looked at. And this was from a population of 2,300, over 2,300 students. They selected 19 special ed students. And so we met with the special ed staff, and so we were able to go through the special ed folders and just look at the information to make sure that the students identified by the ARD committee did meet the needs for special education services. Because that is the way we get funding, so they just want to make sure that we do have the proper documentation on file to support that funding that we're receiving. Again, no findings were reported for this audit, and I'm happy to report that there are good controls and good processes in place. And then the next audit was the audit of state compliance, of at-risk coding procedures and student eligibility. So for this audit, they also chose the students that they wanted us to look at. And for this audit, they chose 10 at-risk students from a sample of 9,587 students that were coded at risk. So we actually met with the staff to ensure that the students that were coded at risk, that they had whatever criteria they were coded at, that we had the proper documentation on file for them. We had no findings, again, and I'm happy to conclude that they have very good processes and monitoring and oversight in place. A lot of this, these departments, they have very good trainings that they offer their staff, sometimes twice a year, and so they're always on top, and they also do little internal audits themselves to check on some of these student records, and so that's also, contributes to the good records that they maintain. The next audit that was also done for them was the audit of state compliance of career and technical education student eligibility. So again, for this audit, the external auditors chose 9 career and technical education students that were randomly chosen from a population of 6,700 students. The procedures that we followed are listed on there in the report. And again, I'm happy to conclude that there were no findings for this for our audit again. Any questions on those audits that were conducted for the external auditors?
Any questions, Dr. Reiniger?
She did not.
Okay. And the last audit that we will cover is the audit of time and effort documentation. And this is an annual audit that we conduct because we do receive a lot of federal funding. It is very important that we maintain the proper documentation to support the employees who are coded and funded through federal funds. Specifically in 2019-2020, you will see that the district had 509 employees that were compensated solely from federal funds and thus documented on semi-annual certification forms. And then we had 16 employees that were partially funded by federal funds and whose time is documented on a monthly personal activity report, time and effort log. So for this audit, we selected to review in detail all of the semi-annual certifications and all the personal activity report, time and effort logs. Some of the procedures that we followed are listed there, and in particular, we reviewed to verify that a semi-annual certification or time and effort log was on file for each employee on the list. And then we verified the accuracy and completeness of the form to make sure that they were completely filled out and signed and dated, and also to verify that the forms were turned in timely and that they were verified and properly filed and safeguarded. For this report, I'm happy to also report that there were no findings, and I just want to point out that based on the audit work performed, there were no findings that came to our attention. And the findings, we did have a finding, the prior reporting that we did last year, and so that finding has been taken care of and it was corrected. And so the internal controls related to the time and effort process improved. All the time and effort documentations were on file. And then just to stress that because of COVID, some of these protocols, because of the COVID protocols, some of the employees were working from home. And so some of these forms were received in the form of an email And so they were also reviewed and also approved by the due date. It was just a different way of receiving the form. It was maybe not in person, but it was through email with the signature. So we still made the effort to make sure that those forms were on file and timely. So that concludes this time and effort reporting, unless you all have any questions on this audit.
Thank you so much. Dr. Reiniger?
Mrs. Fleury, she just stepped out to head over to the Transition Academy's
Okay,
walkthrough.
thank you.
But she
Well, I would
reviewed all
like
of
to
them.
comment that it's on your time and effort report, Nellie. It's clearly a lot of time and a lot of effort. And all to an excellent result. So thank you very much. This is very comprehensive tonight. Thank you. I appreciate it. And appreciate all that you do and all that Mr. Cavazos's department has been doing for such a long time. You all work very well together. And clearly it's been a successful relationship. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes my reporting.
Okay, is there any further business to come before the committee?
No, ma'am?
Okay, if not, thank you so much for all who participated, and I adjourn this meeting at this time.
I now call this regular board meeting of the Harlingen Board of Trustees to order. Pursuant to Governor Abbott's temporary suspension of open meetings, this meeting will be conducted through audio and visual means. We do have a quorum, and let's take a moment to observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Shane Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. President, trustees, Dr. Neola, administration and audience. Tonight's pledge will be led by Alessandra Reyes. Alessandra is a 5th grade student at Bonham Elementary School. She is a current member of the National Elementary Honor Society and a former member of the Student Council, Choir, and Bonham Dazzlers dance team. She is a dedicated and responsible student who is passionate about learning. Alessandra is an AB Honor Roll student with a passion for cheer, tumbling, and dance. She is a member of a competitive cheer team and has been active in gymnastics and tumbling since the age of 5. She has also participated in singing in the choir for Bonham's Aladdin and Lion King musical productions. Alessandra has a goal-oriented mindset. Her goal is to continue to be an A student and actively participate in school-related clubs that support community involvement. She aspires to attain a degree in the medical field and become a doctor. She was recently inspired by frontline heroes during our current pandemic and hopes to one day be a hero and heal people who are sick. One of Alessandra's favorite things about being a Bonham Redbird is that teachers, staff, and administration have an inviting and positive attitude as soon as you walk in the door. Her teachers are very patient and always willing to help. Even with the current change to remote learning, she enjoys how fun and interactive the lessons are. She is very appreciative of all of her teachers' hard work. Alessandra is the daughter of Emma Trevino and Hector Reyes. Ladies and gentlemen, Alessandra Reyes.
Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Alessandra. Next, we'll move on to awards and recognitions. Item number 2A is recognition of TEA Student Hero Award recipients. Presenter, Mr. Fernando Reyes.
Thank you, Ebony. Are you here with us today?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, trustees, president, everyone today. Thank you guys for having me.
So good evening, Mr. President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Neola, and administration. Harlingen High School South, our we'd like to recognize Harlingen High School South senior student Ebony Solis for her statewide recognition of the Student Hero Award. The Student Hero program recognizes Texas public school students in pre-K through high school who do an outstanding volunteer service that benefits their fellow students, schools, or communities. One student from each of the 15 State Board of Education districts is recognized for this award. Ebony has demonstrated outstanding character and commitment to others by creating volunteer opportunities and enabling others to help students that needed academic support during the pandemic. This past summer, Ebony Solis launched In Sync, a free virtual summer program that aims at inspiring youth to be in sync with their passions and the world around them. She and high school volunteers from Canada, Morocco, and Harlingen crafted 40 classes ranging from art and dance to leadership and mindset matters over Zoom, their virtual home for the 4 weeks that the program ran. For hours, she planned, learned graphic design, built a mission statement, and reached out to other online organizations for exposure to see InSync evolve into an idea that students could use to carry them into the world. Ebony has also volunteered with RGB Helping Hand, which was founded by a former South student named Jacob Garcia, along with other local organizations. Ebony is president of NHS and continues to serve in various volunteer capacities, including Operation Santa, RGB Cards for Kindness, and cancer support events. Speaking on behalf of Harlingen South and as a proud principal, we're very proud to recognize and present before you Ebony Solis.
Could I get a picture of Ebony, Mr. Reyes, and the trustees? And I'm going to ask everyone else to temporarily turn off your video. And I just want to keep the trustees, Ebony, and Mr. Reyes on the Zoom so I can get a photo of them.
Congratulations, Ebony. We're very proud of you.
Absolutely, Ebony. Good job, Ebony.
Thank you.
That's a pretty name, too. I like that name, Ebony.
All right, trustees, on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. All right.
Do any trustees have anything they would like to say?
I just want to say that NSYNC was one of my favorite bands, that by one of my favorite songs, and so, anyway, I know that has nothing to do with your organization, but I will tell you, Ebony, just real quickly, that you're learning the gift of servant leadership at a very young age, and I'm very proud of you for doing that. I think one of the best ways you can make a difference in this world is just by helping and serving others, and it's profoundly gratifying, and it's a very fulfilling life when you just live to really help and help others and serve others. So really proud of you for such wisdom at such a young age, and keep up the great work, and we hope to have you in one of our seats sooner rather than later. So God bless you, and thanks for being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Perez. I took you more for a Backstreet Boys fan.
Mr. President?
Yes, go ahead, Dr.
Ebony, congratulations. Yes, want to echo what Dr. Perez mentioned. And just as reference, I've mentioned this before, these board meetings, but there's 6 human needs that we like to talk about, and one of them is certainty, another one's uncertainty, another one's growth and love, another one's significance. And typically, those are the human needs that we need all the time. And the 2 human needs after that are actually growth and contribution. And so that's what you're doing right there. And most people actually, even in the 40s and 50s and 60s, they never get to that. They never realize that. So it's amazing that you're actually getting to growth and contribution at such a young age. Keep up the fantastic work. Good job.
Thank you, guys. Mr. President, may I also echo my colleagues?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Thank you. I would just like to comment on what a fabulous example, sweetheart, you have given all of us, as well as your peers, that during such a difficult time, when so many people are struggling with, actually with depression, because they feel so lost during this time, and they don't see a purpose in their lives and they don't know what they can be doing to make a difference when things are so difficult, you have led the way. I mean, what a shining light you have given to how to use your time constructively, how to make a difference in not just your life, in the lives of your family, but in the lives of all these people whom you've touched. It's just really quite remarkable that you chose to do something like this during such a difficult time. And what a wonderful, wonderful reminder to all of us that this too can be a very positive moment in our lives if we but make it so. So thank you very much. Congratulations, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Ms. Fleury. All right, I just wanted to reiterate what they said, Ebony. I mean, service is, something that we all, as adults, not just as trustees or as teachers, but as adults, we try to, set that example for whether it's our students, our kids, our nieces, our nephews, and, to see that you're doing what you're doing really is rewarding to all of us. And we're proud of you as a school district because you don't just represent South, you represent all of HCISD and the greater Harlingen community. So congratulations, thank you, and thank you for what you do. So thank you too, Mr. Reyes. Next, we'll move on to item 2B. That's the 2019-2020 Texas Honor Roll Schools. Presenters, Ms. Laura Romero and Dr. Joseph Villarreal.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Noyola, senior team, and audience. The 2019-2020 Texas Honor Roll recognizes public elementary, middle, and high schools that demonstrate consistently high levels of student academic achievement, improvement in achievement over time, and reduction in achievement gaps. For high schools, honor roll recognition includes high college readiness in students. Honor roll schools receive a free banner to display on campus, and they are featured on the Educational Results Partnership. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Villarreal to share the results with y'all.
Good evening. So we'll be recognizing 5 campuses this evening, our honor roll schools. And so we'll go ahead and get started with Dishman Elementary. I see Miss Davis there. So if you want to wave and say hi so you can come to the front.
Hello, how are you doing? Thank you.
The next school we have is Rodriguez Elementary. Principal, Miss Arellano. I believe you're there along with, I think you have 2 people with you. So if you want to wave and say hi.
Hi, everybody. Good evening.
Hi.
Great job.
We have Zavala Elementary with Miss Garza, and I believe Mr. Ochoa is there. So if you want to wave and say hi.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Next, we have the Harlingen School for Health Professions and Principal Ms. Tina Garza.
Good evening, everyone. Super excited.
And then finally, we have Early College High School with Dr. Flores, and I believe Mr. Ortega, Assistant Principal, is online as well, so you want to wave.
Great.
One thing I'd like to mention.
Everyone. It's good to see y'all's faces.
One thing I'd like to mention about Early College High School is that since the inception of the honor roll schools, they have been recognized every single year. So fantastic work there at Early College High School by all of our campuses. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you, Dr. Villarreal. Does anybody have any comments they'd like to share?
Sure, yes,
Dr. Reininger?
Mr. President. Right, it's you, as leaders of your campuses, showing how it's done, setting the standards, raising the bar for everybody. And Dr. Flores is doing it year after year, right? It really does take your leadership and your commitment to making this happen. And I know each one of you and your willingness to mentor others, to show others how you're doing it, because then it changes our whole district. So I just want to commend you. It's an enormous amount of work to achieve this recognition. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We are all so proud of you, and the thing that's so exciting is what you're doing for the kids, right? Your school gets the award, but your kids get the real award every single day. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Rainier. Anyone else? Ms. Fleury, I know you want to...
Oh, yes, I was just thinking, 5 schools, yay, 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 yay. Congratulations, we are so proud of you. So proud of you. Thank you for being our leaders. Thank you. Kudos, 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 kudos. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fleury. Dr. Means?
Yes, I mean, I recognize all of you, I know all of you, you guys are fantastic, and it's no surprise, it's just taking the bar to the next level, so congratulations to every single one of you, good job.
Mr. President, just one last thing. These leaders have been in front of the board many, many times. I think what sets them apart, and I say this about all our principals really, so I don't want to say that that's not the case for all our principals, but especially the ones here in the room who are celebrated. I think the difference here is you guys know, you gals know that the magic happens in the classroom, and so whatever you do as leaders, you always make sure that you inspire your teachers, because that's where the real magic happens in the classrooms. And now it's both face-to-face and virtually, so it's more difficult. So just really impressive how quickly you guys have adapted your leadership and adapted your educational model to really serve our students and our community. So really proud of y'all. Thank you for what you do. Really impressed with your exemplary leadership. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Bettis. We cannot, say thank you enough times, for, we're not there with you all, day in and day out, especially during these times. So our thank you is never going to be enough, but, we're very grateful for your leadership, each one of you, as leaders, as principals of your campuses and leaders of those campuses, like Dr. Pettis said, to inspire teachers to do the work where the magic happens in the classroom. So we're eternally grateful for what you do, not just for your classrooms, for your campuses, for your teachers, but the way it ultimately impacts the students and the way you all represent us to the community, to your community. So thank you again. Thank you and congratulations. Yes, Dr. Nola?
So if I could just add, so we talk about, just to piggyback on what Dr. Reiniger said about these campuses being models of schools across our district and really modeling what excellence looks like. But beyond that, this educational research partnership, when schools are identified as honor schools, they actually share their names with school districts across the entire nation. And they represent them as models of what strong public education looks like. And so these principles on our screen, our campuses, are really highlighting the wonderful work that happens in Harlingen. And so that they're not just impacting what we do here, but they are impacting what happens across our nation, because we are regularly getting calls from districts across the state, from districts across the nation, wanting to know what is it that we're doing in Harlingen. And so just a huge thank you to these leaders for all that they do, and really for continuing to make Harlingen shine as a school district, because it's due to the work that they do with their staff that really builds the magic of HCISD. So thank you all so very much.
Bravo.
Thank you, and congratulations again. Next, we'll move on to item 2C, the recognition of PTSA Students of the Month for February. Ms. Brianna Vela Garcia.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Noyola, administration, and audience. Tonight I will be recognizing our February PTSA Students of the Month. They're joining us in the Zoom meeting to watch their video and be recognized. Can you all turn on your cameras and just say a quick hi to pop up to the front of the screen?
Hello. Yay.
The students you see on camera tonight proudly represent the PTSAs of Harlingen High School, Harlingen High School South, Early College High School, and Harlingen School of Health Professions. The video will be available to watch publicly on our YouTube page following this board meeting, so we hope you all enjoy.
is Sofia Montiel. I am a senior and I attend Harlingen High School. I'm currently in DECA, National Honor Society, PTSA, Student Council, and Varsity Cheer, and in DECA I hold the treasurer position. Some of my passions include listening to music, bettering myself both physically and mentally, and helping in any way possible to give back to my community. One that makes me feel more impactful is PTSA and National Honor Society, because we're constantly doing things to give back to our community. I plan on attending Texas State in the fall to major in biology to soon become a physician's assistant. So I'd like to thank God and my family for always pushing me to do my best, and Miss Everett, my junior teacher from English and psychology, for always believing in me.
My name is Joey Pavia, and I am a senior at Harlingen High School. I am an NHS and PTSA as a member, and I'm also in the Student Advisory Board as a student ambassador. I am passionate about weightlifting because it helps me maintain my weight, build muscle, and get stronger as a person, and it also increases my mental health. When I lift weights, I just feel this pride in myself, and I love that feeling of accomplishment. I plan on going to the University of the Rio Grande Valley, and I'm pursuing a degree in exercise science on concentration of physical therapy. My future career is to be a physical therapist because I love helping people. It is about having compassion and treating others to better their lives and health, and to me that sounds very fun. I would like to thank my parents for helping me throughout my school years. They were like mentors and they guided me to the right direction, and I cannot thank them enough. I had one teacher this year, her name is Miss Alanis, and she just pushes me to be a better person and just guides me along the way.
My name is Victoria Flores. I am a senior at Harlingen South. I am involved with student council, and I am also a dancer at Palm Valley. As far as leadership positions, I am the senior class parliamentarian, and I'm also an NHS. I'm passionate about education. I think it's like the key to your future, which is obviously really important to me now that I'm going to be going to college. I plan on going to UT. I've already gotten accepted, and I'll be majoring in psychology. As far as future careers go, I think I would like to be a psychiatrist right now. Like helping people. I think that mental health is definitely something that isn't talked about a lot, and it's something that I definitely like to learn more about myself. I would like to thank Mr. Gillitzer. He was my history teacher last year, and he's currently my human geo teacher. I think that his classroom is just like a really comforting environment, and especially junior year, it's obviously a lot, but he always made it so that we were learning, but that it also wasn't abundant amount of information that he was shoving down our throats, and it helped me get a really good score on our AP exams.
My name is Alexa Insignia. I'm in 12th grade and I go to Harlingen High School South. I am an NHS, PTSA, volleyball, basketball. I do a travel team for basketball, and I have a part-time job at Sony. I've been playing basketball since I was in 3rd grade, and I've been on a travel team since 5th grade, and I've been playing volleyball since 7th grade. I I am really passionate about like animals, especially dogs. I have like 5 of them. And I'm really passionate about country music. I plan to attend Texas A&M, my college station. I want to major in biology, and I want to either become an anesthesiologist or a radiologist. I want to thank Mr. Gillitzer and Mr. Conway because those 2 classes, like, they make us read books, and I feel like those are preparing me more for college. Hi, my name is Olivia Garcia, and I'm currently a senior at Early College High School. I am involved in Student Council, PTSA. I was a competitive swimmer for 5 years and currently the president of the Junior Catholic Daughters of the Americas. I hope to attend Texas State University and study my major there. To be specific, I want to go into perinatal nursing. Perinatal nurses specialize in authorizing patients who are attempting to become pregnant, are currently pregnant, or recently delivered. I am passionate about fulfilling my dream of becoming a nurse and making a difference in this world. There's so much going on in this world, especially during the pandemic outbreak. If there's anything I could do to radiate love and hope, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would like to thank my family and friends for pushing me to my best capabilities and succeeding in school. I know it sounds basic, but they truly helped me along the way. Our family and whoever is close to us are all we need right now, especially through these tough times. I would personally like to thank them for sculpting me into the person I am today.
My name is Sophia Sevilla, and I'm a senior at Early College High School. I am in Student Council, Owls for Kinds, and Girl Scouts, and I was a volunteer for the Boys and Girls Club. Something I'm very passionate about is my education and helping others. I plan to continue my education in utility and to study the pre-law program and hopefully one day become an immigration lawyer. I'd like to thank my family, specifically my mom and dad, because they're the ones who always pushed me to become who I am and to become a better person. So thank you guys for that, and I love you guys so very much. Hi, my name is Jimmy Cantu, and I'm a senior at the Harvard School of Professions. Some clubs and activities that I am currently in is Spanish Club. And last year I was also in Rotary Club, and right now I am not in a club, but I am in leadership in church. I'm one of the young women presidencies, and I am in charge of all the young women 12 through 18. Some things I do there at church for the organization, what I do is I organize services, and then I plan activities so that we can all get together and communicate more. I'm passionate about drawing. I like to draw a lot, and then music. I think music is a way people can express themselves. And also very passionate about sports, because it's a way, if you're very stressed out, you can let yourself go. What made me choose physical therapy was my parents had an accident a few years ago. And my dad went physical therapy, but never really recovered. So I searched up things on my YouTube, and I studied more on some books. And I was like his physical therapist, not a professional one, but I tried my best to help him out so he'd be off the pain. Some people I would like to thank would be Ms. Fuente, because she never gave up on me. She would always make me try even when I would say I couldn't. And another person I would like to thank would be Mr. Spinoza, because he taught me that I actually like a lot of technology, that comes in videos. And another person I would thank would be Miss Jeffrey, who isn't in our school anymore, but she taught me that I love to help out people. My name is Ariana Ramos. I'm a senior and I go to Harlingen School of Health Education. I was in Spanish Club, Versa, Recycling Club, Book Club, Symphony, where I played the alto saxophone. I was in the PATH program and American Red Hops Club, and I've also volunteered at the Harlingen Community Society. I'm passionate about animals, baking, jewelry making, photography, bettering the environment, and I would love to travel eventually and set it down in my life. Right now I'm split between Texas State and UTRGV, and I'm entering undecided. I feel like I would most likely go into an environmental or an art major. Future careers that I've been thinking about are animation, environmental science, interior design, or architecture. I would like to thank a couple of my former teachers, Ms. Zavala and Mr. Sanchez, for the mostly. I would also just like to thank my friends and my family for supporting me through my high school years.
Congratulations to these awesome students. We know we have some parents that may be watching our live feed right now, so I'd also like to congratulate them. We'd like to also thank our Harlingen City Council PTA for their partnership on this recognition. So students, as I call your name, please send hi and send a big wave through Zoom. So from Harlingen High School, we have Joey Padilla.
Hi.
We have Sophia Montiel. Here. From Harlingen High School South, we have Victoria Flores. Hello.
Hi.
We have Alexa Encenia. Hello. From Early College High School, we have Cynthia Segundo. Hello. We also have Olivia Garcia. Hi. From Harlingen School of Health Professions, we have Janae Kandu. And we have Elena Ramos, who I don't think was able to join us on the Zoom call this evening. So I'd like to invite our Board of Trustees to say a few words, and then we'll take a group photo screenshot of our students.
Sure, thank you, Brianna. Go ahead, Board.
Mr. President, I would like to say that this is one of my favorite parts of every one of our board meetings. It's just fabulous to see such a variety of interests and how in each of those interests you're just soaring with excellence. We're so proud of all of you all, and we cannot wait to see what you're going to do next year. Congratulations and thank you. And yes, thank you to City Council PTA.
Thank you, Ms. Fleury. Mr. President.
Mr. President, I just wanted to say congratulations to our wonderful students being recognized, and to remind them that perhaps some of the most important thing they're learning right now is obviously not only the stuff in the classroom, their education and the skills that they're learning, but more importantly, just their resilience and the adaptability of everything that they're going through, that we're all going through right now with this pandemic, and certainly the importance of lifelong learning and learning through different mediums, like remote learning. And so these are going to be skills, especially resilience and adaptability. These are going to be skills that you're going to use not only in college, but in your future jobs and in every step of the way in your future life, and at least if you're going to be successful. So congratulations to you guys. You make us proud, and I hope that you're proud. I know your families are very proud of you, as we are as well. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Pettis. Dr. Muniz?
Yes, congratulations to all of you. It's good to see all of you. Did I see that there was an Aggie out there? Yeah, yes, right? Giggum, right? I've got to shout that out, of course. Sophia, Joey, Victoria, Alexa, congratulations. You guys are awesome. Cynthia, Janae, and Olivia, awesome job. You guys make us very, very proud. I mean, you guys are just like both Dr. Perez and Ms. Fleury mentioned, what a broad spectrum of experience you have. I mean, from weight training and nutrition and having open mindset and just doing so many amazing things. It's awesome. So great to have you with us. And guess what? Hey, you guys have a choice to be here. You choose to be here. And that shows us that you have leadership skills. So thank you for being here.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Meade. Yes, Dr. Rennie?
Sorry, I just wanted to add my congratulations to each of you. You know, in each little snippet about, you know, each one of you, the love and the passion and the sense of giving, you know, I just think it's so tremendous, your generation and you all as leaders of your generation to be so plugged in to giving back and to know your career paths and to have already excelled to the point that your teachers and your schools have nominated you for this honor in a pandemic. You know, you've just accomplished so tremendously much, and we really are. We're so proud of you, and we just, you know, we revel in what you've accomplished, and we look forward to having you come back and give back to our community. So thank you for the extra effort, because it does take that, and we really do know that. You have consistently gone above and beyond, and I want to give a special shout out to Alexa, who I've gotten to watch play basketball, and I didn't know you were such an accomplished, I've gotten to watch you play volleyball, and I didn't know you were such an excellent basketball player too. So it's just so much fun to learn about all of you. So congratulations.
We're going to take a quick screenshot, so if everybody could just kind of wave to the camera. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Brianna. Congratulations to all of you all. And I know that, I think Ms. Vala Garcia mentioned the parents, grandparents, family, friends. You guys are here because you had a big support group around you. So thanks to them also. Congratulations to them. And Ms. Vala Garcia, thank you for those videos again. Your team, you guys do a great job every month to make sure we highlight these students who are very well deserving. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to item number 3, the approval of minutes. Item 3A, the January 12th, 2021 regular board meeting. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. President, I'd like to move approval of the January 12th, 2021 regular board meeting minutes.
Second the motion.
We have a motion by Dr. Iger and a second by Dr. Moniz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 3B is the January 26, 2021 special board meeting.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the special board meeting as it requested.
We have a motion by Dr. Moniz,
Second.
second by Ms. Fleury. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to item number 4, which is a principal's report by Ms. Mini Ramirez from Bonham Elementary. Ms. Ramirez, you're on.
Hi.
Hello.
Good evening. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can share my screen. All right. Good evening, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Marilla, and audience. I'm here this evening to highlight the progress our campus and district as a whole has made in the area of literacy. I would like to start by sharing the mission and goal of our campus. You'll hear our students and staff saying on a daily basis that we all learn and grow every day at Bonham Elementary. We truly embrace this mission as a whole community. As a staff, we know we must continually stay abreast of the latest teaching strategies, and now more than ever, must continually learn and grow in the area of technology to ensure that we are prepared to provide the best possible education for all our students. Our goal as a campus, and I would say as an entire district, is to provide excellent and equitable outcomes for all of our students. We have to meet our students where they are and keep helping them grow from there. We must always add value to them each and every day. Many of you may not know this, but I have a master's degree as a reading specialist and have taught pre-service teachers how to teach reading with Texas A&M Kingsville for the last 12 years. I often joke with my math counterparts how my classes are so much more important than theirs because teaching reading is the most important thing we do as educators. Because if students can't read, well, they're going to struggle in all the other subject areas. And although I jokingly say this to get under their skin, there is some truth to it. We all know how important it is to have a strong reading foundation onto which we can build a sturdy structure of learning in all content areas. A long-term study by the Annie E. Casey Foundation found that students who were not proficient in reading by the end of third grade were four times more likely to drop out of high school than proficient readers. In fact, 88% of students who failed to earn a high school diploma were struggling readers in third grade. Wow, this is eye-opening data. We truly have to get it right from the beginning. Our district is well aware of the importance of having a strong reading foundation and has ensured that we have the tools and resources that we need to provide this foundation for our students. Here's a glimpse at what we as a district currently have in place for pre-K through 5th grade in the area of reading. And I won't bore you with all of it, but I want to share with you just the different curriculum that we have in each grade level. We have our reading programs as well as NIHouse that goes along from pre-K through 2nd and all the way up to 2nd grade, and then 3rd and 5th, continuing with the scientific spelling. We also have all of our assessments that we use with our students to ensure that they're showing progress. And here's the rest of our 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And so we definitely have a roadmap as a district. And I want to take time to thank Carmen Alvarez, not only for this detailed outline of all the programs and assessments, but also and especially for her continued passion and support for ensuring that we do get it right from the beginning with our youngest learners. Today, I will focus specifically on two critical resources and curriculums that we use on a daily basis, NIHouse and guided reading. I was on the committee when we were reviewing early literacy programs. We were very adamant as a team that we adopt a program that had a strong component of teaching our teachers how to teach reading. We wanted to ensure that our teachers truly understood the how and the why. We ultimately chose NIHouse to help us to build this strong literacy foundation. NIHouse equips teachers and district leaders with the latest research-based strategies and materials to teach reading, writing, and spelling to all of our students. Teachers engage students in daily routines to practice foundational skills such as phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, and fluency. The routines greatly help our students continually practice their skills. The great thing about NIHouse is that it teaches the rules of sounds and allows students to explore when words follow that rule and when they don't. And well, we all know that in our English language, there's lots of words that don't follow the rules. Here are a couple of routines that we'll see in our NIHouse program. In our reading readiness, which happens with our kinder students, our teachers review phonological awareness, oral language skills, sound symbol correspondence, and handwriting with our students. In the accurate and automatic reading program, which begins in the second part of kindergarten, our students have their new learning, which is where they'll learn the new letter, the new sound, the new spelling pattern. They also have their word deck, where new words are added daily, and they practice those words each day. Then they have their reading practice, where this consists of lists of words or connected text that students must read. There's also the word profile, where students get to analyze and dissect a word and really understand the parts of the word. And then there is the read aloud, where teachers are able to read to students. This is just a few of the routines that our students see on a daily basis. So, teachers have been using NIHouse for a few years now, and we have been seeing great success with this program. So when the pandemic hit and we had to provide instruction both remotely and in person, we had to quickly think how we would continue to keep the fidelity of this program, but do so on a different platform.
Our teachers teach the lesson via Zoom, but then teachers also provide practice activities for students via Seesaw. Here's one example of a nine-house activity that is done via Seesaw. Our students have an opportunity to hear the lesson again and then practice reading words and/or short stories that apply to the sound or pattern they had learned. Students are asked to record themselves so that teachers may be able to hear students and give them immediate feedback. Teachers are then able to work with students in small groups, whether they're in class or in Zoom, to help them with any areas they may need help on. Students are able to practice what they learn in NIHouse in these small groups. So that takes me to my second important literacy resource that we use on a daily basis, and that is guided reading. The goal of guided reading is to build independent readers who can read fluently with comprehension. The teacher plans lessons and focuses instruction on the area where students need the most support. By focusing instruction on these areas, a guided reading lesson plan prepares students to be able to read at the next level of text complexity. In guided reading, students are placed in small groups based on their level of need, on their levels and their needs, so that teachers can choose books that are at their instructional level. Students practice skills that they are still developing in these groups. Small group instruction gives teachers the opportunity to hear individual students read, and it gives them the opportunity to give immediate feedback. Teachers are also able to reteach and/or enrich on the spot as needed. So how do we determine a student's level? Teachers do running records on students to determine their level. We do a beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year benchmark. However, teachers can do running records in between each benchmark to see how a child is progressing. The goal is to continue to move students up in levels. The wonderful thing about guided reading is we take students from where they currently are and keep moving them up. This is definitely great for our struggling students, but it is also great for our advanced students because we start where they are and continue to fill those gaps or enrich what they already know to make sure they are all learning and growing and getting what they need when they need it. So what are the other students doing while the teacher's working with small groups? Well, if they are in class or in remote, they can be working independently on activities on Seesaw that the teacher has assigned to them. iStation assignments that the teacher specifically chooses for them based on their needs, or students can do independent reading on online books such as Epic and other great book sites that our district provides for us. I want to take you back to our we learn and grow every day at Elementary. Excellent and equitable outcomes for all. The programs I have talked about today truly help us to achieve these goals. NIHouse and guided reading help us to ensure each student has a strong reading foundation and that they are provided what they need to continue to make progress. I'd like to share some data on 2 students at this time. Student 1 began the year as a low average student. He started the year as a tier 3 student, if you notice right here, in iStation, meaning that he was in need of intensive intervention instruction. He began his guided level reading at a level N, which was slightly below grade level. The graph shows the growth that he has had from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year. He is now in Tier 1 in iStation and went from an N level to an S level in guided reading. This student has shown tremendous growth. Our second student is a high-achieving student. He started the year at level Q, which is slightly above grade level, and his guided reading was on Tier 1 from the beginning in iStation. Although he did not need intensive intervention like our first student, it is our goal to ensure this student and all our students continue to grow and make progress. As you can see, in the middle of the year, this student went from a Q to a W level in guided reading and has continually remained a Tier 1 student in iStation. This data shows that our reading programs are helping all our students to make progress. We are ensuring that we are providing excellent and equitable outcomes for all students. So how do we use this data?
Well, we utilize this data, the data we receive from these assessments, to ultimately drive our instruction to ensure that we're meeting the needs of our students. Our campus administration team meets with Mrs. Romero monthly for data chats to review our data and discuss ways that we can continue to support our teachers and our students. At the campus, we share data with our instructional leadership team to discuss campus initiatives that can help support our teachers and students. With our teachers, we discuss their own data in our PLCs and data meetings so that we can help them group students and make the best instructional decisions. Teachers are also able to share this information with parents to show them their child's progress. And our students, most importantly, are able to analyze their own data to see their growth and progress and be able to set goals for themselves. Because remember, at Barnum Elementary, we all learn and grow. So, enough hearing from me about the great things that we're doing in the area of literacy. Let's hear it from the most important people, our teachers and students. Shane, will you cue up our video?
Setting up face-to-face and remotely to do small group was a huge challenge for us this year because of the circumstances. But we had to rely on our resources that we had, and we had to bring it to the students via Zoom. So it took a lot of thinking and figuring out as far as how we could put it together, how we could make a plan that would be effective for them. So the first thing that we do is we assess them, and we assess them using a word list. And we've been using the resources from Scholastic, and we figure out where their reading level might be. And so we start with that word list, and that kind of gives us a gauge of where they might be. Once they go through their word list and we're able to see, okay, then let's start them at this benchmark assessment. We go ahead and administer a benchmark assessment, and we can either go up or down depending on how the child does. But usually that word list will help us target that one benchmark that maybe that child is on, and we determine their reading level.
What we try to do is now incorporate the phonics, the NIHouse, with the guided reading, so that even if I don't get to see all those kiddos in their seesaw lesson for NIHouse, at least I can work with them in the small groups and check on those skills. So, for example, this week, our NIHouse skill, we're really working on the EA, working together as a long E. And so we made sure that the books that we chose had those words in them, so that when we're reading, we can take a break and look at those words and dissect them and say, hey, does this match our pattern? Is it EE or EA? Does it match what we've been talking about? What other words can you find like that? So that really helps them to not just see that skill in one little part of the day, but that they can spread it out throughout other sections, especially with the reading and work on that, so that they can see that I don't have to just see EA during phonics time. I can see it while I'm doing my small group. I can see it while I'm reading a math problem, that they can kind of holistically see that.
Well, when we do small group reading with my teacher, we read a book, and before we start reading, my teacher asks what the vocabulary words mean. In small groups, there's usually 2, 4, 5, or 6 students. Some things that we do in NIHouse, we take out a piece of paper, and there are these speakers we can listen to, and then we write the word, but we have to write our name on the top. I especially love Ice Station because we can read books. My favorite was actually a joke book. It's like you get to listen to fun jokes. My favorite is a whale one. What does a whale say when he's confused?
What did you say?
Can you be more specific?
Like the Pacific Ocean.
That was great.
Those are my babies, and that's why we do what we do each and every day.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. Joke books were always my favorites to pick out at the library. So I don't know if the board has any comments or questions.
I do.
Go ahead, Dr. Reininger.
First off, I thank you so much, Ms. Ramirez, for the in-depth, explanation of how the data is used and the steps for incorporating the various tools you have. I'm one of, I think every single board member is super interested in reading, and so we're all very dedicated to seeing what the tools that you've been given come to life, and that's exactly what your presentation gave us, so thank you for that. I just wanted to say that I think the thing that struck me so powerfully about what you're doing is the fact that you use the data that you're collecting, and it's there can be a tremendous burden in gathering information and inputting it, and the front end of it, right? The collection, the management of data takes just an enormous amount of work, and it can. When you're on the input side of it, you can really resent it if it's not used. And so the fact that parents are using it, teachers are using it, curriculum specialists are using it, the kids are using it, that list of every way that the data is being used just spoke volumes to me, because it means that the teachers see the value of the assessments and the input, and then there's so much just practical use of the data on the backside of it, and therefore the outcome. Those graphs you showed with great outcomes. So anyway, I'm totally a data nerd, so I was really glad to see you were using it and that we had so much of it, and it's driving change. So thank you, because that takes leadership. That takes a commitment from the leader saying this is how it's going to be done because we believe in it. And so you, Ms. Romero, obviously Dr. Noyola, the whole team, knowing that data makes a difference. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reininger.
Mr. President.
Dr. Muniz?
Ms. Ramirez, great presentation, excellent stuff, and it's interesting, I noted the same exact thing, how to use the data. and the most important thing, I know it's all important, but I love that the students can track it, right? Because it goes back to the four fundamentals when you're talking about measuring things. If the students can't use it, if the end user can't see it, right, it doesn't mean anything. There has to be a correlation. So I'm glad that you guys are using it that way. And thank you for showcasing some amazing teachers. It's good to see their spirit and their love for the kids. I know each one of them, and it's fantastic to see their love for it. And of course, ending with a joke, you should have just stopped right there. You can't beat that. You gotta be more Pacific. I love it. Thank you very much, Ms. Ramirez.
Thank you, Dr. Muniz.
Mr. President, could I?
Yes, sir, Dr. Perez, go ahead.
Thank you. So, great presentation. Thanks for being here this evening. And critically, this is critical work for our district because, as you said in your presentation, this is the foundation. Literacy is the foundation for all skills, and it's a foundation for whatever these kids are going to do when they graduate our school district. It's foundational to all disciplines. So I wanted to a couple things. First of all, when you look back, when you look into sort of when our kids graduate high school in our district, and then let's say they go to college and graduate college and things like that. I mean, think on sort of when folks land a job, it really has less to do with where they went to college or even the degree that they have. Honestly, nowadays, people land jobs because they have skills. And, you know, if you think, I just heard a presentation by the Dallas Fed Chair, Rob Kaplan, who said very much, paraphrase what I just said, but then said, what we all know on this preaching to the choir to this audience is that the most important skill is literacy. And literacy is foundational to the development, in fact, of all other skills, right? And so that's why this work is so profound and so important. So I'll ask that as a preface to my question. I guess I wanted to ask you, and because now we're all talking about sort of educational gaps, my question has to do with NIHOUSE, and do we feel that NIHOUSE is actually mitigating those educational gaps, at least with regards to literacy, or is it still a huge gap exists because of sort of our remote learning and, you know, obviously the difficulty in some to really acclimate into the remote learning platforms and things like that? How do you feel, you know, that we're doing with regards to literacy and educational gaps, and do we feel that NIHOUSE is actually helping to mitigate those?
Great question, and I think we had seen some really big gains prior to the pandemic. We had really seen our students gaining ground. I think we definitely, I mean, like anything, we're going to see some gaps, but I can tell you that students, and of course, that's my reading background, coming back to me, is just that we have to give students the tools to read. We have to give them an opportunity. It has to be well balanced. And I think these two programs that we have really balance things out. We cannot be strictly too much, you know, just, I used to call them word callers when all we taught was how to read, right? We also have to balance it out with thinking and understanding and comprehending and putting it all together. And I think these two programs, if we work it the right way, and that's the piece, right? And I mean, y'all got to see some great teachers, right? And they're doing some great things, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot to marry those two and to make sure that we're getting a well-rounded and a balanced literacy. But I definitely think, and that's what I wanted to highlight about NIHOUSE, and that was one of the things when we were choosing that, and I just happened to be on that committee back a couple years ago, was that we wanted to make sure it's any program can sell, right? It's like anything else. It's like a diet. It's like anything else. You know, they can there's something out there for, right? But it's about making sure we know the why behind things. Why do we do it this way, and how do we do that? And so this program really spent a lot of time teaching our teachers how to do it, and investing that time and making them, you know, really understand how to teach that. You know, it's like any program. Is it 100%? Is it going to be? I think that it's going to depend on the teacher and how they deliver that and how they embrace it as well. But I definitely think it is critical to making sure that our teachers understand the importance of those foundational literacy skills.
Thank you, Dr. Perez. Ms. Fleury, you're muted. I think you want to say something?
I'm sorry, I didn't mute myself, so I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Thank you so much, thank you. Thank you, Minnie, thank you so much. I would just like to reflect for a moment upon the foundational importance of what we're talking about right now. And I keep thinking, and I've quoted this often, that Dr. Cavasso says, when we focus, we do it. You know, we have relied on teachers to come into the classroom already prepared to teach reading for 100 years, more than that. And it is astonishing to me to listen to the detail and the specificity that you are bringing us, Minnie, in explaining how we teach reading in HCISD now. My point being that we are light years beyond the traditional teacher walk into the classroom, already know what you're doing, and you just do it by yourself. The sad thing is that is really the way it was done, as you know and I know, for so long. And so the moment that we stepped out with focus, the moment that we brought in the leadership that we needed, the moment that we adopted NIHouse, and the moment that the district truly bought into the concept that we have a role and responsibility in exactly what you've said, in training and preparing all of our teachers to teach in such a way that all of our children will be able to learn. That is when the real transformation in this school district began. Because as Dr. Pettis said, whatever else we are doing, fundamental to that is the ability to read and to understand what we have read. So I want to commend the district. You know, we often take for granted how well we are doing things in HCISD now and how far we have come. I don't think we should ever take for granted the fact that we have completely transformed the teaching of reading in this school district, and the children are benefiting exponentially from that transformation. So thank you and kudos to every single person that has been involved every step along this way, you know, from our senior staff to Carmen, to all of our principals, and to the fact that we as a district and certainly as a board are committed to continuing this kind of focus on the teaching of how to teach reading. That's what's made the difference. And I thank you so much for highlighting that tonight with such detail, because it is fundamental truly to everything else we are doing in this district. So thank you. We must never, ever, ever, you know, board members come and board members go, and staff comes and staff goes, but this district hopefully will have this focus on teaching how to teach reading in perpetuity. That's critical, and it is fundamental. So thank you, thank you. I'm very, this is my passion. You know, like you, this is my passion. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. President,
yes, sir, go ahead.
one more thing, please. Jerry inspired me to think of one more idea. And I don't know what the numbers are. I know that, you know, HCISD is well, you know, 30 or something percent, or a lot higher in terms of state average, in terms of reading grade level, things like that. And our own improvement in the district was just incredible since beginning this effort a few years ago in our push for early childhood education, and of course literacy in NIHouse and everything else. I just want to say this, you know, when we're trying to work towards creating better alignment with public schools and universities, and universities lean back, academic universities, and figure out how to create more, and, you know, not more, you know, higher quality, but also scalable model to create early literacy experts. Let's not forget that we also have some amazing students in our high schools. And so the idea that I have is we're just embarking upon a new university with the early college high school and NonCampus. We also have, not all of our high school students will go there, obviously. We still have some other amazing high schools. We have our of course, traditional high school south and Cardinals, but we have School of Health Professions. Let's not forget their role, these students' role, in creating literacy experts in the elementary schools. I feel that if we actually ask some of our high school students, they would love, and I know you all are doing some of this now, but I know they would love to read on a continuing basis and to really inspire our little ones to learn to love reading. I feel that this shouldn't be left to chance. It shouldn't be just something that's pockets of success or just something you do here and there. It should be something that these students want to do on an ongoing basis. Specifically with, of course, with our back mapping now, our step up and creating our future teachers at the new campus. But even at the other campuses, I know they would love to read to students in this kind of thing. And so I just feel that we're doing some of it now. Why not scale it up, and why not make it purposeful? Why not make it? Why not make literacy embedded in everything we do all along the way? And why not use our own brightest students? Because let me tell you something. It's not going to shock anybody here, but if you want to see little ones inspired, they're sometimes far more inspired by seeing somebody just a few years older than them in high school, and they're just like, wow. And so, anyway, think about that. I think it's an idea maybe that y'all can make a lot better, but I think we're missing the mark if we don't take advantage of our own brilliant high school students. Thank you.
Great idea.
And I'm so sorry, may I add to that, personal and professional, when he was saying that. So my own daughter is in a high school and is going the track of being a teacher. And so the other day she said, Mom, I have to do a lesson plan. Actually, both of them are in the class. I have to do a lesson plan. And well, you know that the principal is not going to just be, she's like, oh no, we're going to do this big. We're going to do a lesson plan, right? It's going to be good, right? We got to have all sorts of, Mom, I don't need all of that, right? But my thought, and what Dr. Pettis said was, why didn't they come in and do it? I told her, I'd love for you to come and do that with my kids. I mean, if you're already preparing the lesson, what do they do with it afterwards, right? And I'm thinking, why can't they utilize that to come and teach our kids in the classroom? I mentioned that, and I think it's awesome to start preparing them and have those hands-on. We do partner up with early college and other of our high schools where some of our students do come in and teach some of our students. But I think, even helping them with that, I think is awesome. So thanks for sharing that. Definitely, like I said, professionally, it makes me excited for my students, but personally for my own babies that are doing that, I think that would help them out. So thank you for sharing that.
Thanks, Doc. And thank you, Minnie. I mean, that's a great thing you guys are doing over there. So just thank your teachers, thank everybody that's involved in this, because, hopefully, maybe one day your daughter can come and teach a lesson there, and, that's something that you guys can do. So, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item number 5, public comments for agenda topics. Sonia, do we have public comments for agenda topics?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay. Item number 6 is public audience for non-agenda topics. Do we have public audience for non-agenda topics?
Yes, sir, we do. Mr. Jesus Mendoza has requested to speak to the board regarding a non-agenda item. The only way Mr. Mendoza can speak to the board is by telephone. Mr. Shane Strubart will be assisting Mr. Mendoza at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mr. President, I'm going to let Mr. Mendoza in. He's been on hold for a while, so let me let him in. Mr. Mendoza, can you hear me? This is Shane.
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Hi, Mr. Mendoza. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jaimes. He is our board president, and he's going to go over the instructions for public comments.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mendoza. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for your patience. Let me just read a few instructions, and then I'll give you your time to speak, sir. In public audience for non-agenda topics, each participant will be limited to 3 minutes to make comments to the board. Delegations of more than 5 persons speaking on the same topic shall appoint 1 person to present their views before the board. Complaints and concerns for which other resolution channels are provided shall be directed through those channels. These complaints include complaints on the following subjects: employee and officer complaints, termination of employment, student complaints, removal to alternative education program, and expulsion. Public audience is not extended to advertise, promote, sell tickets, or collect funds for any non-school related purpose without prior approval of the superintendent or designee. See GKB local. Additionally, vendors or prospective vendors who are currently or prospectively engaging in the building or request for personal proposal process with the district are prohibited from speaking at public audience to the extent the presentation concerns a current or future bid and is a violation of bid instructions. Mr. Mendoza, you have 3 minutes, and Ms. Deb Scoggins, if you're on, can you be our timekeeper? And just let me know when those 3 minutes are up. Starting now, Mr. Mendoza, you're on.
Thank you very much. My name is Jesus Mendoza. My phone number is 956-583-7012. I have been homebound for more than 9 years with a light-threatening electrosensitivity EHS, which is caused and aggravated by exposure to the same wireless microwave radiation reaching children and teachers at school. My EHS has been recognized by federal and state agencies and by court as a physical medical condition and as a disability. It is estimated that without knowing, more than 50% of the population is already suffering symptoms of EHS. Children, teachers, doctors, attorneys, and even a director of the World Health Organization are suffering from EHS. See wearetheevidence.org. Despite the EHS is reaching pandemic proportions, most doctors are in the dark or in denial and continue misdiagnosing and mistreating with harmful drugs and invasive procedures symptoms that disappear with just reducing exposure to microradiation. Fagin Scott, a Chicago-based law firm, filed a federal lawsuit with evidence proving that cell phones used by our children emit more than 5 times microradiation than allowed by federal law. It is a fact that even short doses of radiation above the federal safety limits causes harm even to adults, and that exposure to microwave radiation breaks the blood-brain barrier to allow painkillers, mercury in vaccines, and other medication to anyone damage the brain. Experts are warning that exposure to microwave radiation can aggravate the symptoms of the coronavirus, and evidence is showing attempts to conceal that the 5G radiation can make holes on the skin's DNA to create the deadly coronavirus. On November 2016, the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, admitted in open court that because of my life-threatening electrosensitivity, incarceration was for me a death sentence. And then in response to counter lawsuits, Paxton admitted that he attempted to enforce by incarceration, fraud, and child support orders to conceal the murder, the collusion of those in charge of educating and protecting the children to conceal that a massive medical malpractice and a massive Medicaid and Medicaid fraud are used to conceal that the microradiation at school is causing children EHS and brain, eye, blood, nerve, heart, and DNA damage and other catastrophic and irreversible harm and disabilities that defeat the purpose of education, and to conceal that microradiation is causing harm to teachers, firefighters, and police officers. Furthermore, evidence on the record proves that how under fabricated excuses of national security, those in charge of educating and protecting our children committed fraud in the course to conceal that government-sponsored bullying is provoking children and the mentally disabled to commit mass shootings and other acts of terrorism, to justify the massive and harmful direct radiation surveillance of schools.
Pardon me for interrupting, sir. You have 10 seconds remaining, sir.
And even the homes and detailed by the request to protect our children submitted to the next Secretary of the James Family Education, Dr. Miguel Cardona, and posted in the case law section of J. Mendoza at wirelesswatchblog.org. Sharing this information can save the lives of our children and teachers and other defenseless and unsuspecting victims. Thank you very much for the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to item number 8, matters relating to transformation and school support. Sorry, I skipped something. So item number 7 is the approval of the consent calendar. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. President, I move for approval of the consent calendar.
I second the motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Powers and a second by Dr. Muniz. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Now we can move on to item number 8, matters related to transformation and school support. Item 8A is Transforming Teaching and Learning Committee Report. Dr. Noyola.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members, senior administration, and audience. On Tuesday, February 2nd, we held our regular Transforming Teaching and Learning Committee meeting. We had 2 topics that were brought forward for consideration and discussion. The first item was a recurring item that we've had for approximately the last 4 months, which has been the work that is happening regarding the teacher incentive allotment. Tuesday night's presentation was done by Mrs. Veronica Corton, our Administrator for Organizational Development, and Mr. Shane Strubhart, our Administrator for Public Relations and Community Engagement. So at this presentation, the focus was on the communication plan that needed to take place as a result of all the work that has happened in preparation for the teacher incentive allotment. Design teams have launched a communication plan that includes the development of a principal toolkit to share current information with staff, and also engaging with teacher focus groups, scheduling teacher information sessions, working with stakeholders monthly, and developing a teacher incentive allotment webpage, all designed to ensure that we have strong communication channels for all of our teachers so that they understand all the various aspects of the teacher incentive allotment plan that we are currently working on. As part of that presentation, Mr. Stroophart proposed that the goal of our teacher incentive allotment and the work that we're doing is truly about elevating the teaching profession in HCISD by rethinking our system for how we recruit and retain highly effective teachers. Along that line, we also had discussions about development of teacher profiles, as well as creating teacher pathways for those people that truly have a passion for teaching, and so teaching that will keep them in the classroom, that is where their focus is, and not necessarily other avenues. And so how do we create those pathways for people that want to remain in that aspect of the profession? He shared that they would utilize, as part of the teacher incentive allotment and the development of our teacher pathways, really looking at the work that we have seen through Holsworth when we look at the work that has happened in Singapore, as well as looking at the development of teachers through our IB model that we happen to have right now at Sam Houston Elementary and Austin Elementary. The goal is that in next Transforming Teaching and Learning, we will bring forward a sample or a draft of the teacher incentive allotment application for discussion, with the goal of bringing the final application for board review and approval at the April board meeting. The due date for this application to the state is scheduled for April 15th, and then as part of that process, it will then subsequently be evaluated by Texas Tech University for reliability and validity. So that work continues. We're getting very close, and so we're really excited at the work that has been done by the various design teams in the development of really a quality rubric that we can use to identify our highly effective teachers and how we will compensate them in this process. The second presentation was done by our Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education, Mrs. Lori Romero, and Dr. Joseph Villarreal, our Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Education. Their presentation really focused on some requirements that have come down from the state as part of the 85th legislative session. We're currently in the 86th. But last legislative session, along with the Texas Education Agency, a requirement was brought forward that every school district across the state establish early childhood goals, as well as goals at the college and career and military readiness level. So at Tuesday night's Transforming Teaching and Learning Committee, Mrs. Romero and Dr. Villarreal presented the goals that have been established for the district in our early grades, as well as those CCMR goals. Along with the establishment of those goals, we also have to develop a plan on how we will attain those goals. The goals that were shared on Tuesday night are designed to be attained by 2024. And so a lot of work to do. Obviously, COVID has had an impact on that, but as we heard from Mrs. Ramirez earlier, we have a really established plan that will guide us in that process in attaining those goals that we have established. We will continue that work, and so later this evening, we will be bringing those goals and plans forward for approval. Dr. Raina Rich is our Transforming Teaching and Learning Committee, and so I'll turn it over to her for any additional comments.
Thank you, Dr. Noyola. So, once again, I think the Transforming Teaching and Learning Committee, the structure of it really works well, that we as board members get into some of the details of what's being planned, and both of these topics, the teacher incentive allotment and the goals for college, career, military readiness, are really central to the work we do as a district. And so I would say our board continues to ask a lot of questions and have very high expectations, and they're being met, right, about the teacher incentive allotment. I'll start there. We found that the communication plan is very well thought through. There's a lot of emphasis on making sure that that we communicate thoroughly to our teachers so they understand the expectations, the opportunities, they understand the measures and how it leads to money, right? And we want them to do that. We want them to fully understand what is available to them. We're also, as a board, just really pleased with the nod, the recognition of international models that are working. We need to look far and wide and take the very best and bring it here. So again, just tremendous work being done, and we will continue to push forward as we meet the goal for submission of this application. And I would say that the goals and the plans on the college career and military readiness, we had a very frank talk about this, and they are going to be stretch goals. These are not going to be easy goals to reach, and we recognize that the pandemic has had an impact, but nonetheless, we're going to meet these goals. And so I really appreciated the careful attention to this. I think in many ways, a pandemic makes you think harder about how to do things well, and it tears apart some of the fluff, and it makes you get right to the core of what needs to be done, and those goals are achievable and very well thought through, as always, we'll see it done. So overall, again, another very, very good meeting, and the work of this district continues to push us forward. And so thank you, Dr. Noyola, and to your senior team for leading these efforts.
Thank you, Dr. Reiniger, for the work you do with that committee. Item number 9 is matters relating to curriculum and instruction. 9A is approval. Sorry, was someone going to say?
Yeah, you mind if I make a comment on the previous item?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Reiniger, for your leadership committee, and Dr. Noyola, and in particular also Veronica Cortan. I just want to get one more plug in for the teacher incentive allotment. I can't tell you how impressed I am thus far with the process and with the work that's gone into it by yourselves and the senior team, but also by the design team and everybody else. It's incredible. And I think that this district, I remember discussions when I first got on the board, discussions by all the board members about increasing the quality of our human capital and the quality of our teachers and the talent acquisition and everything else. And we've come, we've come to like much new heights with regards to this, but I really feel that this is an opportunity to just take it to another level. And not only what the state is allowing us to do, but what we can do even, to make it even better. So I think let's just sort of think outside the box. But in that, I just would ask you to please make sure that we ensure that the very best teachers that are being recognized at the different levels, that they also embody selflessness and teamwork. And so the last thing we want to do is just create this culture of competition within our teachers and departments and that kind of stuff. So please, I ask that of you. And thank you again for the quality of this work and the process. I think it's just been amazing. It's been amazing so far, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Perez.
Absolutely.
We'll move on to item number 9, matters relating to curriculum and instruction. Item 9A is approval of House Bill 3, Early Childhood and CCMR Plans and Goals. Ms. Laura Romero and Dr. Joseph Villarreal.
Good evening, Mr. President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Noyola, senior team, and audience. Definitely, as Dr. Noyola mentioned, our presentation this evening, I think, highlighted the tremendous amount of work that campuses are doing with early literacy, which leads us right to our goals. House Bill 3 requires school boards to adopt plans and goals in early childhood literacy and math, as well as college, career, and military readiness. Last Tuesday at our Transforming Teaching and Learning Committee, a presentation was shared that outlined details of these plans and goals. Tonight, we bring them forth for your consideration and approval. Administration recommends approval of House Bill 3 Early Childhood and CCMR plans and goals as presented.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am?
I move approval as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Fleury and a second by Dr. Reiniger. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Romero. Item number 9B is the adoption of renewal of the District Innovation Designation Plan. Ms. Veronica Cortan.
Mr. President, board members, Dr. Neola, senior team, and audience. This evening, I am coming forward with the adoption of renewal of the District of Innovation Designation Plan. And so as per House Bill 1842, that amended Chapter 12 of Texas Education Code, which created the ability for us to have districts of innovation in the state of Texas. Districts of innovation, districts in order to qualify as a district of innovation and to even apply, they have to have acceptable performance in both accountability and secondly in financial integrity. As such, today we are currently a district of innovation, proud to be able to say that. And so with that designation, we need to come forward every 5 years to make sure that we study the effectiveness of the flexibilities we're able to exercise and to decide whether or not we're going to move forward with the renewal. So in the fall of 2020, we had the opportunity to study the effectiveness of flexibilities that we have exercised as a district of innovation. And so as such, on December the 16th, 2020, Dr. Nayola and I were able to meet with our DEIC. And during that meeting, we had the opportunity to bring the current plan forward to our DEIC. They reviewed it in its entirety and unanimously approved that we move forward with the renewal of our designation as a district of innovation. Included in our current plan, which was adopted in 2016, we currently have 3 flexibilities that we can exercise as a district. The first one is flexibility with calendars. Because we are a district of innovation, we are able to start our academic school year before the 4th Monday in August. And so if you look at our calendars the last few years, that certainly has been a flexibility that we've been able to exercise. The second flexibility that is part of our District of Innovation plan is the opportunity or the ability to have a 25-to-1 teacher-student ratio in grades K through 4 without needing to submit a class size exemption to the state. And then lastly, our flexibility with teacher certification. We all know that CTE is thriving. All of our academies that we've been able to afford for our students is definitely one of our shining stars in our district. And in part, that has been made available to our students simply because as a district of innovation, we're able to have some flexibilities with teacher certifications. As a district of innovation, we are able to issue local district teaching permits for individuals who meet our guidelines and our talent acquisition requirements. And so with that, I now move that I now share with our board that the administration recommends the adoption of the renewal of the District of Innovation Plan as presented this evening.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion for approval as presented.
Second motion.
A motion by Dr. Muñiz and a second by Dr. Perez. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Cortan. Next, we'll move on to item number 10, matters relating to business services. Item 10A is an internal audit quarterly report by Ms. Nelly Ledesma. Ms. Ledesma?
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Neola, senior team, and audience. The audit committee and I met earlier today and heard the following 9 audit reports. A report on year-end physical inventory observations, a special activity fund audit for Crockett Elementary School, an annual audit of activity funds for all campuses and departments, an audit of bid finalists, an audit of state compliance of limited English proficient student records, an audit of state compliance of special education eligibility, an audit of state compliance of at-risk coding procedures and students' eligibility, an audit of state compliance of career and technical education students' eligibility, and an audit of time and effort documentation. These reports were discussed with the audit committee, with the audit committee members in detail, and I am here to answer any questions you may have, unless Mrs. Florio would like to elaborate on what we've discussed.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ledesma. I would like to just share with the board the enormity of material that was brought forward at the meeting today, and would like to commend Ms. Ledesma and her assistant for the quality and the magnitude of that work. As this board is keenly aware, there is a tremendous amount of money and a tremendous amount of resources in addition to money that are going through this district on a daily basis. And it is very reassuring to have the level of expertise that we have in our internal auditor, and who does prepare a great deal of work for the external auditing that is done for us at a later time. So the audit committee was pleased to receive all of that information. I would like to assure the board that it was all of a positive nature. It was really quite remarkable with the amount of what was covered and the depth of how it was covered, that everything was really in tip-top shape. And so we really did not have any issues to discuss, and thank you very much, Ms. Ledesma.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ledesma, and thank you, Ms. Fleury, for those comments. Item number 10B is the approval of order of election and notice of trustee election. Mr. Julio Cavazos.
Thank you, Mr. Ms. Dr. Loyola, board members. Agenda item 10A is the approval of the election order and notice of trustee elections. We have places 4, 5, and 6 that are up for election. That's Dr. Barbara Muniz, Dr. Nolan Pettis, and Dr. Belinda Reiniger up for election. On May the 1st, 2021, early voting will start April the 19th, and then April the 27th. It will be done from 8 to 5 with extended hours, April the 22nd, April the 27th, till 8 o'clock at night. Early voting will be done at City Hall. Be glad to answer any questions the board might have. We certainly recommend approval.
It's a pleasure of the board.
Mr. President, I move for approval of the order of the election and notice of trustee election.
We have a motion by Mr. Powers,
Second the motion.
second by Ms. Fleury. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Cavazos. Next, item 10C is to consider approving an interlocal agreement for joint election between the City of Harlingen and the Harlingen Consolidated Independent School District. Mr. Cavazos.
Thank you, Mr. James, Dr. Loyola, board members. Agenda item 10B is the approval of the joint election with the City of Harlingen. We are required to have a joint election with a municipality within our boundaries, within our school boundaries. This year, the City of Harlingen is having an election, so we asked them if they wanted to do a joint election. They certainly agreed. When we do a joint election, we share on the election cost, and we certainly recommend approval for this item as well.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. President, I move approval of an interlocal agreement for a joint election between the City of Harlingen and HCISD as presented.
Second the motion.
We have a motion by Dr. Reiniger and a second by Dr. Pettis. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item 10B is consideration and approval of early voting clerk, Mr. Julio Cavazos.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed, Dr. Loyola, board members. Agenda item 10C is the appointment of the early voting clerk.
The board is required to appoint an early voting clerk. We're recommending Marta Barrientos, as she is my secretary, to be the early voting clerk. She had done the early voting clerk for the past 6-7 years. She's very knowledgeable on elections, and we do recommend approval.
Mr. President, I move that we take the request as recommended.
Second. We have a motion by Dr. Reyes and a second by Mr. Powers. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Cavazos, for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Item number 11 is matters relating to human services. 11A is consider approval of recommended revisions to policy update 116 on first reading. Ms. Debbie Scoggin.
Thank you, Mr. Hymas, and good evening, and Dr. Mayola, members of the board, senior team, and audience. Earlier today, at our Policy and Audit Committee meeting, administration presented recommended revisions to Policy Update 116. The recommended local policy revisions include the dismissal appeal process for employees, cybersecurity training, student medical treatment, and community conduct on school premises. Administration recommends approval on first reading.
Mr. President, I move approval on first reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Fleury and a second by Dr. Reiniger. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Scoggin. Move on to item number 12, matters relating to district operations. Item 12A is a Facilities Committee report by Mr. Oscar Tapia.
There you go.
There it is.
Board President, members of the board, Dr. Mayola, the Facilities Committee meeting was held on February 2nd. Give an update on all the TRE projects, starting with the Treasure Hills Phase 2. Project is about 45% overall. They've poured the slabs in some of the additions, some of the steel's going up. Parking lots are being worked on and already paved. Still some underground work and roofing work to do next. The school entry vestibules, we signed the contracts. We had a pre-construction meeting at the site with the 3 principals. We talked about the logistics of the plan, where they're going to stage, and demolition work is going to start during the spring break week at all 3 sites. The early college high school, we've had a couple of meetings out there with staff, walking around, looking at the spaces, starting to coordinate ordering the furniture and equipment, computer technology, infrastructure, things like that. The project's about 50% complete overall. They've brought all the steel up. They're pouring concrete. They started already on the roof. They got the exterior sheathing, so it's going very well. HCAZ Transition Academy is about 75% done. They already started finished work inside. They've already sheetrock. They're doing cabinet work, tile work, and I think there was a meeting earlier today to go visit it by some of the board members. We also have an agenda item that's on the, later on after this item, to grant an easement request from AEP so that the power company can run power from the street underground all the way to the building, and they need an easement to maintain that line and service it. The Gutierrez Fine Arts Phase 2 project is also underway. The contracts have been signed, notice to proceed. We've had a meeting out at the site with the principals, so we're already starting that process, and contractors starting to submit paperwork, submittals for approval, so they can start ordering their building materials. The marquees, the PAC Gutierrez South and Zavala marquees are complete and functional. The one we were waiting for was Vernon Middle School. The sign was up. They just needed to get the digital board up and running and install the software, and that'll be the last one to finish. On the baseball, softball field improvements at Dixieland and Keys, contractor's about 95% complete. They've already put the half wall. They put the netting system up with the poles. They're already doing site work, grading and sod work. And so they're just waiting to water it a little bit, let the grass take root. And in about a week or so, week and a half, they should probably start playing on it as the baseball season's about to start. The Vernon Dam Hall addition, the fire damage, I gave an update. We're working with the insurance company to assess the building and the damages, but also the contents. The insurance company wants to know if some of the contents can be saved, can they be cleaned, and then what's not, then they'll review for coverage. The contractor's given us a price of about $433,000, so we're reviewing that proposal, but that also includes asbestos abatement and mold abatement. So price sounds high, but it includes a lot of things, so we'll keep you posted on the where we are on that project. And change orders, there's a couple of change orders also on the agenda I'll be presenting. I'll go over those in a little bit, and a couple of payments that are on the agenda as well. And Ramon Mendoza gave an update on the construction funds, the financial status of the TRE projects, and then meeting was adjourned. So with that, I'll turn it over to our facilities chair, Mr. Powers, for any additional comments.
Thank you, Mr. Tapia. I do want to commend you and your staff on the outstanding job you've done at Vernon with the fire damage and the quick reaction that you all have had. And there's not been one slowdown at all at that campus, and things are moving right along thanks to your department and your quick response. Also, those of you who weren't able today, I think some of you zoomed in with the Transition Academy inspection that we did today and visit. This is really incredible. I'm really, really proud of our district. This is the first facility of this type in the Valley, and it's a first for us, and it's a first for South Texas. There are other districts I know that have remodeled some existing buildings and, utilized other facilities, but no one has built a house specifically for the purposes that we have. Danny Garza and Joseph Villarreal gave an outstanding tour today, and I mean, what we're doing over there is really, really beneficial. I think the acquisition of that property that we bought for the health professions and memorial was going to turn out to be one of the highlights of this district as far as growth. One of the benefits of the Transition Academy being placed over there is the involvement that the staff has planned with memorial and with the health professions, bringing those campuses and those kids over to help work out with the Transition Academy, and the goals that we have in store are just going to be incredible for those students. So again, thank you, Oscar. That's a terrific project and going to really be a benefit to this district and its students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Park.
Mr. President, just wanted to add my kudos. Oscar, you continue to do great work for the district. We're lucky to have you, and thanks for the great work. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Greg, I know that they have to fight you away from a lot of these job sites because you're going there to help and stuff like that. But I do agree with you, Greg. I think the Transition Academy is something this district should be extremely proud of. So thank you for adding that.
Thank you, Dr. President. Thank you, Oscar and Mr. Powers, too. Moving on to item 12B is the approval of final construction payment to Holcomont, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, LTD for the Vernon WLA Phase 3 renovations. Mr. Oscar Tapia.
Yes, thank you, President. Hi, members of the board, Dr. Noyola. Holcomont Construction has submitted the final payment for the Vernon Middle School Phase 3 construction. That was the courtyard and painting inside and a little bit of site work. The final payment is in the amount of $5,821.60. I'm sorry, $12,423.55. The architect has done a final review of the punch list. Everything's in order. Anything that's pending will be done under warranty. So at this time, we're recommending release of the final payment.
Mr. President, I move for approval of final construction payment to Scoggins Construction Company for the Treasure Hills Phase, final construction payment to, how do you say it, Oscar?
Holcomont
Ltd. for the Vernon World Language Academy Phase 3 renovations.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Powers and a second by Dr. Reiniger. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 12C is the approval of final construction payment to Scoggins Construction Company, Inc. for the Treasure Hills Phase 1 addition. Mr. Oscar Tapia.
Thank you, President. Jaime, it's a similar payment to the Ho bond, but this one's for Scoggins Construction for the Treasure Hills Phase 1. The original contract was $8,195,000. We do have a credit back to the district for $90,008.47 of unused monies for from the contingency fund. So that brings the adjustment down to $8.1 million. So there's a balance to pay of $86,693.56. Architects reviewed it and signed off on the pay application, so we recommend approval and release of the final payment.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion for approval of the final construction payment to Scoggins Construction Company for the Treasure Hills Phase 1 addition.
Second?
We have a motion by Dr. Muniz and a second by Dr. Reiniger. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Item 12D is the approval of change order number 3 to decrease the original contract sum for the Treasure Hills Phase 1 addition. Mr. Oscar Tapia.
Yes, thank you, President Jaime, members of the board. This item was discussed in detail at the Facilities Committee meeting. It went over several items of changes that we've done since the early stages of the project, changes totaling $335,275. We did have $425,284 in contingency unused allowances. So that's the end of the project. We're not going to use anymore, so we're going to get a credit back of $90,008. So that'll bring the payment back down, leaving a balance of $335,275 to be deducted from the allowance. So the final payment will be $90,000. Oh, I'm sorry, looking at the wrong thing here. Yeah, $90,008.47 will be the balance.
Mr. President, I'll move approval of the change order number 3 to decrease the original contract sum for the Treasure Hills Phase 1 addition as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Reiniger and a second by Mr. Powers. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item 12E is the approval to grant easement and right-of-way conveyance to AEP Texas Company to install and maintain electrical power service to the new Special Education Transition Academy. Mr. Tapia.
Yes, President Jaime, members of the board. This is what I talked about in my facilities presentation. We have an easement request, right-of-way conveyance to AEP related to the Special Ed Transition Academy, so that we can bring power from the street side, the utility pole, underground, all the way to the building. It's about 100 foot in length, 10 feet in width. So we recommend approval of the easement right-of-way conveyance to AEP as presented.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion for approval as presented. Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Muniz and a second by Mr. Powers. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 13, adjournment to close your executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.082, the Open Meetings Act for the following purpose. Discuss employment of teachers and other professional staff. We're now in executive session. Thank you. We're live? Okay, we are going to now reconvene into open session for action on matters discussed in executive session. Item 14A, consider employment of teachers and other professional staff.
She's got a respiratory problem.
Where's the pleasure of the board?
Go ahead.
I'd like to move approval of the employment of teachers and other professional staff as recommended by administration.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Reiniger and a second by Mr. Greg Powers. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We are now adjourned.
Stand by.
Good night.